For centuries, the history books have told us one thing. Civilization began in Mesopotamia, Sumeria, the Fertile Crescent. But what if that's wrong? What if, in the heart of Europe, nestled in the Balkans, a mysterious civilization was smelting metal and, even more controversially, writing a full 1,000 years before the first pharaohs of Egypt or the earliest cuneiform tablets in Sumeria? This is the story of the Vinka culture, a civilization so far ahead of its time that even today its true significance is furiously debated by archaeologists. Their story doesn't just fill a gap in our history, it rewrites the entire timeline. So let's travel back in time. We're in the fertile lowlands along the Danube River, around 5300 BCE, while most of Europe was still just emerging from the Stone Age. Living in scattered small communities, the Vinka were doing something radically different. They were building what archaeologists now call Neolithic metropolises. These weren't just a few rough huts thrown together. We're talking about large, densely populated settlements with multi-room houses, neatly arranged in rows, almost like modern streets. They were pioneers of urban planning, living in organized blocks thousands of years before the Romans. It was a level of social organization that simply shouldn't have existed that early. But their real game changer? Metal. Forget the Stone Age. The Vinka became the first known culture in the world to master copper metallurgy. They mined ores, built sophisticated kilns to reach incredibly high temperatures, and smelted them to create artifacts like heavy-duty chisels, axes, and delicate jewelry. This wasn't just decorative, it was industrial. And this technology was 1,000 years ahead of schedule. They effectively bypassed the standard historical timeline, leaping directly from the Neolithic into the Copper Age, all on their own. And here's where it gets even stranger. In most ancient societies, advanced technology and large settlements lead to clear social hierarchies. You get kings, palaces, and a massive gap between the rich and the poor. But among the Vinka, we find almost no evidence of this. Archaeologists have excavated their large settlements and found that the houses are remarkably uniform in size and quality. There are no grand palaces or temples that stand out. There are no lavish burials for a ruling class. The Vinka appear to have been a surprisingly egalitarian society where social status wasn't displayed through wealth. This makes them a true historical anomaly, a complex, technologically advanced society that might have been built on cooperation rather than domination. If their technology was advanced, their art was truly bizarre and captivating. Archaeologists have unearthed thousands upon thousands of terracotta figurines from Vinka sites. These aren't crude, simple statues. They are highly stylized, often featuring strange, bird-like masks, huge, almond-shaped eyes, and intricately carved details showing jewelry, belts, and sophisticated clothing. These figurines give us a glimpse into a people with a rich spiritual life and a complex sense of identity. They were skilled weavers, making clothes from both flax and wool, and their designs suggest a highly developed aesthetic. The famous scholar Marija Gimbutas argued that these figures, which are overwhelmingly female, represent a powerful and peaceful mother-goddess cult that was central to their society. They weren't worshiping gods of war, but of life and creation. But the most profound and controversial legacy of the Vinka lies in a series of symbols, found etched onto pottery, spindle whorls, and small clay tablets across a massive geographical area. These abstract, linear marks have thrown the world of archaeology into a heated debate. Why? Because they predate the first known writing systems of both Mesopotamia and Egypt by as much as 2 millennia. If these symbols represent a true script, a system for encoding language, then we have to push the start date of written history. And therefore civilization itself, back by over 2,000 years. It would mean that the first literate society on Earth was not in the Middle East, but right here, in ancient Europe. So why isn't this a settled fact taught in every history class? The main argument against it being a full-fledged writing system is context. Skeptics argue that the symbols are just potter's marks, a way for a craftsman to sign their work. Or maybe they were ownership signs or a simple tally system for tracking goods. This would make it a form of proto-writing, a precursor to the real thing, but not language itself. Another theory is that the symbols were purely ritualistic. They were used only in religious ceremonies, inscribed on offerings to the gods, or as a kind of sacred notation that wasn't meant for everyday communication. Without a Rosetta Stone to help us decipher them, the meaning of the Vinka symbols remains one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. For over 1,000 years, this remarkable culture thrived. They built their cities, mastered metallurgy, and developed their unique spiritual art. And then, around 4500 BCE, they vanished. Their distinctive pottery, the bird-masked figurines, the organized settlements, it all just fades from the archaeological record. What happened? It doesn't seem to have been a sudden invasion or a cataclysmic disaster. The evidence points to a much slower dissolution. A gradual but persistent climate change may have impacted their stable farming lifestyle, making their large settlements harder to sustain. At the same time, new groups of people with different cultures began migrating from the steppes to the east. The Vinča weren't wiped out. They were likely absorbed. Their culture blended with others. Their technological edge dissolved into the great melting pot that would eventually become the Bronze Age. The Vinka stand as a powerful reminder that history is never a straight line, and it's certainly not settled. The story we've been told about our own origins might be missing its most important first chapter. The true dawn of European civilization may not have been with the Greeks or Romans, but with a forgotten, egalitarian, and technologically brilliant people living on the banks of the Danube thousands of years earlier. The tablets are still there, waiting for someone to unlock their secrets. So I have to ask you, what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Do you believe the Vinka symbols are the world's oldest writing or just ceremonial marks? And if you want to dive even deeper into the incredible mysteries of ancient Europe, click the video on your screen right now about the Varna gold, another astonishing civilization that flourished right alongside the Vinka. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to like and subscribe to uncover more hidden history with us.